Now to the passing of anti-apartheid struggle stalwart Aziz Pahad. The family is yet to announce the details of his funeral. He died last night, age 82. Ambassador Welile Nhlapo also worked closely with Pahad. He joins us now from Kempton Park just to pay tribute and for his recollections. Ambassador Nhlapo, good afternoon. Welcome to Today on eNCA. And how do you pay tribute to Aziz Pahad, having worked with him as well in the past?
Yeah, you know, I came to know Aziz since 1977 and worked very closely with him from 1978 when I was posted to London to the ANC office there. And together with him, we are assigned to engage the anti-apartheid movement, representing the ANC in all their meetings. And of course, doing a lot of the work that needed to be done in mobilizing the broad section of British people and beyond, even when it came to having to deal with building those structures of that movement in Europe.
And what stood out for you during those times about his leadership style and his engaging style?
One thing about Aziz that I got to learn, I had in my training been exposed to the rules of underground. Aziz lived those rules. That was his second nature. So whatever he did was to perfection. And I used to marvel at the manner in which he goes about conducting himself whenever he was doing whatever work and protecting the secrecy of what is involved in the execution of any task that has been given. He was a master when it came to that, but also very friendly, very open, could reach out very easily to anybody. And everybody knew Aziz. And sometimes when you walk around with him, people will greet him and then he'll turn to you and say, who is that? I said, no, I don't know. He said, no, but how can you say you don't know? I mean, why is he greeting me? I said, Aziz, I don't know. It's because you are Aziz Pahad. That's what they know.
Now, that world was a different world. That was during the anti-apartheid struggle, you working together in Britain. And fast forward to 1994, democratic South Africa dawns. Aziz Pahad is still very much at the forefront of shaping the new foreign policy of the new government. What do you recall about that time of transition and his role?
No, during the period of the TEC, Aziz represented the ANC in the Transitional Executive Council for Foreign Affairs, and which was our appointment there. And in that committee, they really were exploring all possibilities of reshaping the new foreign policy of a democratic state. And Aziz led the charge and made sure that the people that worked within the team, even afterwards, revered and respected Aziz for his sharpness and his understanding of the world. And again, of course, his prowess when it came to diplomacy.
Yeah, it must have been a hard time because you remember at the dawn of democracy, the governing party inheriting a system that was of a divided country where you had the so-called independent TVBC states, you know, Transkei, Bophuthatswana, Venda, and Ciskei. And they also had their own so-called diplomatic missions. How did he manage that complex scenario from what you can recall?
No, you know, first we had to agree with the ones that we found there who represented the apartheid regime. We engaged them long before we ourselves got into foreign affairs in Pretoria. So we got to know most of them and know some of the challenges and the thinking on their side as to what they believe we can be able to do together. So by the time the others came in from the so-called TBVC states, we had laid the ground in terms of how we then begin to make sure, because we had no choice but to integrate them. To integrate them with dignity and try to make the best out of them, because not all of them were material for the Foreign Service. And they came with some ranks that were quite serious, but they couldn't fit into the system because it needed an experience of understanding the world and exposure to the world. So we had to take them by the hand. But including those we found there at Foreign Affairs, because their experience was one of busting sanctions to some extent. And they were never really given the opportunity to practice diplomacy in the manner in which all of us know it.
Yeah.
So they benefited a lot from the interaction, particularly with Aziz Pahad. And I can bet that a lot of them remained in the system because they felt welcome and that we will be able to work together with them and build a formidable foreign service that will cater and take the interests of South Africa to any forum where we need to promote and defend our foreign policy.
Okay, finally, Ambassador Nhlapo, very briefly, how do you want South Africa to remember Aziz Pahad?
I think we have to remember Aziz for his dedication, his selflessness. Aziz would do anything without expecting anything in return. And anytime, whenever people acknowledged him or he got any accolades, you could see in his face that sometimes he just simply didn't understand why. Although he knew the purpose, and he thought that there were other people who would be doing better than him. That is the kind of person who was very unselfish and very ready to mentor and get the best out of everybody, including his staff. One of them was telling me yesterday that former staff at the DFA, that it was exactly 15 years ago this week that Aziz bid farewell to them in the office when he resigned from government after the removal of President Thabo Mbeki. And he says, ironically, it is during this period that he bids farewell to us, and for that we'll always miss him. That is a message from a very young diplomat then, who was nurtured by Aziz.
Ambassador Welile Nhlapo, thank you very much for your time to pay tribute to Aziz Pahad and sharing with us some recollections of your times with him. That's Ambassador Welile Nhlapo, reflecting on the legacy of the late struggle hero Aziz Pahad, who will be laid to rest on Saturday at the West Park Cemetery in Johannesburg.